All right, good to go.
Awesome. Welcome everyone to the reboot of SIG Security. Um, we'll just do some really quick introductions and um,
Real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
it's January 9th. This meeting is being recorded, and the Kubernetes Code of Conduct is in effect. So y'all be excellent to each other.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for getting that.
I got you.
All right. I'll start off with myself. My name is Peter Benjamin. I'm a software engineer at a company you may have heard of called Norton LifeLock. I just help out with application security and operations and all things Kubernetes. Seth, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Seth. I am an infrastructure engineer at SIG, working on a bunch of fun Kubernetes stuff here, and been working with Kubernetes upstream for a little over a year and a half now, and happy to help bring back the SIG security project.
Awesome. So I also participate in some other SIGs such as CNCF SIG Security, and they do this thing where new participants or new members, if they would like to also introduce themselves, they may. Do we have any new members or anyone who would like to introduce themselves?
I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Marky. I am a software engineer at SIG on our internal product as well as on our CNCF recently incubating Falco project. I'm involved in a host of other SIGs, and I'm the guy that tries to keep everybody positive. So if you need positivity, hit me up.
Thank you.
And I suppose I'll introduce myself. I'm Jim Angel. Been involved in the community, SIG docs and SIG release mainly, and I was part of the SIG security group or this doc security group when it first started, and I'm happy to see it getting picked back up.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. All right. If there are no more introductions, we can proceed. So let me share my screen here. Share the SIG security Google Docs. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, this is a reboot of SIG security, and there were a few tasks. I guess so. Yeah, the previous SIG security was trying to accomplish some goals, and obviously there are some tasks left undone. So Seth, I know you were catching up on that a lot towards the end of 2018, catching up on what was left. So did you want to fill us in on that and perhaps maybe set some like expectations or goals of what we would like to accomplish moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. So I went back through all of the notes that had been typed up for prior meetings, and I did, put them in this new notes document. And it looks like there was a lot of movement around some way to disclose Kubernetes CVEs. I think I really like the line here in one of the notes. I think it was from the May meeting last year. We want to do more than nothing, but less than spoon feeding data to customers, because right now we have the Kubernetes announced mailing list, and that's pretty much it. So I think one of the first things that Peter and I and anybody else wants to help is maybe circle back on that and see where that was left off on. There was a few things in that list there that were in an Airtable that the previous lead, Zach, had set up. And I'd like to move off of that. And I don't really know if we need another tracking method other than Just this Google Doc, but we need to, and I can do this for at least for the first couple. Circle back and see what we're doing in terms of contact with SIG auth and documenting the CVE process. I know there's been one of the things that's going to be difficult has been there's a lot of movement on the security side of things on the docs site outside of doc security. So I'm sure that some of these things here are out of date. I know the 4Cs is up and running, and I believe that was kind of supposed to be a living document. So I'm sure we can take a look at that. And since Kubernetes moves so fast, I'm sure there's some changes we need to make there. And there is a big document that was linked in there that I believe is owned by Steve Perry that has a lot of security links for the docs and stuff like that. So can check with him and see what he was working on there. But I think the biggest one so far was just the how we report CVEs and where people can go for that information.
Great.
Okay. And then I thought I had something else. Maybe not. Nope, not really. It's the big one is the how do we get not just CVEs but vulnerability info to people and what does that look like on the actual website for docs? We have a security section now. That's getting a lot better. Do we have a disclosures section of the website? Is that something we want to move forward with and look into? How do we, as much as we can, one-stop shop this for people that want to know how to secure a cluster, at least in the first-party sense. I know in the broader docs scope, we're having discussions around what third-party content looks like on the website. So especially when it comes to security, that might be a line we need to tread carefully. As much as Marky and I would love to espouse all the fun things that SysDig does for security, we probably shouldn't do that in the first-party Kubernetes docs. Just a thought.
Right. That's great info. So I was at KubeCon San Diego in the contributor summit, and one of the sessions, the unconference sessions I attended, was led by Valerie.
Yeah, you said it right.
Where a common theme I noticed was that lack of coherence of security content and security material on the website and the docs. And I did bring up, I mentioned SIG doc security, that, probably that's the best place to try to tackle something like that, an initiative like that. And there was a lot of enthusiasm in the room for that initiative. So I guess so since we're trying to tackle this problem, this challenge, and improve security docs, I presume we're gonna need to work with a lot of other SIGs that are like SIG docs themselves and SIG security as well.
Yeah, I know as looking through the old notes, I know we were working on getting in touch with at least someone, a good, single point of contact on the SIG release side of things. So if there's any KEPs that grow out of this, as well as someone on the auth side of things for, you know, broader Kubernetes security features and a technical review. So we're not just blowing smoke when we put docs up there. I don't know where we ended with that, but I can look into that to make sure those two are taken care of. And obviously, we don't want to just silo this. We want to talk to everybody and you know, all the SIGs. But I think at least auth and release are two good ones to start with.
Is there one question I have that I just don't see right off from a quick search? Is there a charter for this? We're a SIG, so we're not a work group, so we should have a charter.
Well, we're not technically a SIG either.
Oh, okay. So
it's we're not a work group. We're not a SIG. When we talk, Jim and Peter and I talked about this. We're kind of, there was discussions about maybe making it a working group, but we don't know if there's an end date to this. Peter's and my goal was to at least come in and see if we could at least wrap up the stuff that was left undone when the previous lead, Zach Arnold, had to step away. But we're both probably assuming that there's some things that are going to grow out of this. But like doc security isn't going to be its own SIG. And I don't know if the end goal for this is it folds into auth from a security standpoint or docs for, you know, the documentation standpoint. But it seems like over the last 8 months to a year, security's been the big name of the game in Kubernetes. So I don't think I don't think this is a forever project.
is this something that you see maybe being folded back into docs?
Ideally, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, there's a section in the old notes where I'm assuming Zach or whomever, somebody typed up, you know, we exist for organizing and indexing the Kubernetes security docs, providing insight for security recommendations in Kubernetes, and advocating for security to cluster owner and operators, and you know, all of that in a docs context. So we can definitely formalize that around the goals, and that's why we're having this meeting. Thanks, Marky.
And just to add to that a little bit, some historical or history
Yes,
on
please.
that is that the whole idea is that security docs are all over the website and there's no central way to find all of them. And as we saw CVs pop up and, you know, how to, you know, escape out of a container and all the stuff and fun that happened last year, the conversation became more around how do we make sure that folks know where to go when they want to get security information. And that became the sole purpose of the group. And then the idea was that hopefully this group doesn't live long enough where it needs to be a working group. Hopefully this is, you know, processes, procedures, moving some docs around, you know, cleaning up the current state of the world, and then, you know, either merging back into docs or potentially handing off some of that responsibility to some of the other SIGs.
Awesome. How's that, Marky?
Beautiful. I'm still going through some of the older.
Yeah, there's a lot in there to unpack, and I tried to I reorganized it so you scroll forward chronologically, and it looks like, you know, you can see early on a lot of what they wanted to get done started getting done. You know, you see the early talk around the 4 Cs, RBAC examples, things like that, kind of aggregating all the security docs, which has started. That's a longer process and a broader docs thing too, as Jim I'm sure can speak to.
Well, one other thing too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say that there is a link. I think I just saw it when you scrolled down there on this main page with the Google Doc. That was put together by Steve Perry of all the different, I believe it's the correct link. If you go ahead and open that one up, if you don't mind.
That's the one I mentioned earlier. There's
gotcha.
That's Steve's doc with like, here's all the stuff.
Awesome. So yeah, this is a beautiful example of the state of the world where we are today and how fragmented we are. And the idea that someone would have to know how to navigate docs, know the, you know, proper locations to find these and dig these up. The fact that these are all in little nooks and crannies, really that's what we're looking to help out with. And Steve did an awesome job putting this doc together.
Yeah, I want to echo that sentiment. At the Kubernetes Summit, one of the major pain points were that security content was just kind of all over the place on Kubernetes.io. And even when there is some, like if you're looking up, say the kubelet flags, some of the things that are relatively insecure aren't even clearly called out. So even when we do have some security docs on there, it's not clear or explicit that maybe you want to be careful with this, and if you want to, implement it in a more secure way, here's a link to maybe, here's a link to maybe how to do it more securely or something like that. So that came up in that session with Valerie.
Who is sharing their screen right now?
I am.
That doc you just had up previously, going back to the meeting notes.
Yeah.
Can you lazy link to that doc?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And I think what we should probably do, and I don't know who wants to do this, it's probably not that big of a deal or not that hard, is because this is, I'm assuming, Steve's doc, I think we can suggest things, and I can see that there's a couple things that were suggested to add. So I don't know if he wants to keep ownership of this, or I can take it since I have the meeting notes as well. I don't know how involved in this he wants to be, so somebody can reach out to him. I can do it. Somebody else.
Yeah, I'd recommend pinging him on Slack, Seth, if you want to take care of that. Steve, when I chatted with him, was very interested at keeping a distant eye on the sub project, but wasn't sure how much involvement he could actually provide.
Got it. Cool. I'll leave myself a note. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to cover. Just really wanted to go back through what was done prior, and thank you, Jim, for filling us all in, because this wasn't something I was involved in its previous iteration. So much appreciated.
I appreciate you both picking this back up. I'm excited to not let it rot and die out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a couple other people that hopped on our Zoom. Does anybody else want to chime in? Besides me, Marky, Peter, and Jim? Okay. Don't have to.
What I will do is I'll take an action item for myself. I'm going to go over both of these documents and kind of just see what the state of the world is, and then reach back out to Seth, Peter, and Jim, and then I'll reach back to you guys in the Slack channel, just to sort of get an idea of what maybe can be done between now and the next meeting.
Cool. Jim, do you want us to leave you out of that for a bit? Because this is, you're doing the broader doc side of things. Do you want me to let Peter? Do you want to let Peter and I do this, and then we'll hit you up if we need anything? I just don't want to add a bunch of noise to your Slack. That's up to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Feel free to keep me included now. I'd like to help, get everyone uplifted here, and then I'll probably fade out.
Awesome.
He's like, peace.
Deuces.
Exactly.
So, and then for me, I'll see if I can circle back with where we were on the contacts for SIG auth and release, and if we had somebody, if they still want to be involved in that, and I'll also hit up Steve and see what he wants to do with this doc as well. And then Marky, I'm sure, you just loop Peter and I in on going through the current document. It's not like you and I won't see each other every week.
Never again, ever.
And I think we need an excuse to go down to SoCal to see Peter in person too. So that works. I'm on board.
Where are you in? Actually, we'll wait until after. I'll ask.
Hey, yo, Peter, how about you just blow all your OPSEC out of the water? What color is your house? What's your mother's maiden name? Pet's name? Hold on. Let me look at your other security questions here. All right, cool. I am looking at my list. That's all I've got.
All right. So the cadence of this SIG is, I don't know if we mentioned that, but it's every other week uh, from 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And it's for 30 minutes, and it can go up to an hour. Is that correct, Seth?
Yeah, I think we're scheduled for an hour, but I don't ever really think we'll need to go that long. I'd like to
Right.
give everybody time in their day back, especially for those not on the West Coast.
Exactly. All right.
Cool.
Cheers,
So
everybody.
we've got action items. I'll get moving on that. And everybody obviously pop up in that doc security channel with questions. And if we don't talk to you before then, we'll talk to you at the next meeting in a couple weeks. We good? Anybody else want to chime in?
I have one other thing. Jim, you have
What you
the
got?
action item to get the calendar updated, right?
100%. And also have the action item to fix this meeting so folks can join without being the actual host.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Yep, no worries.
Cool, cool. Anybody else? If not, I think we can call it. Look at that. We started late and we're still in that half-hour slot.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for coming.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you,
See you
everyone.
online, everybody.
See ya.